The backlash is building this morning against President Trump's decision to once again ignore his intel community, making clear he stands with Saudi Arabia, despite reports that the CIA concluded that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was responsible for the brutal killing of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. And the tone and framing of his statement on why he is standing with the Saudis, sparking criticism even from supporters on the Hill. In one of the most bizarre press releases, perhaps, that we've seen from this administration, laced with 8 exclamation points, the president wrote, "After my heavily negotiated trip to Saudi Arabia last year, the kingdom agreed to spend and invest $450 billion in the United States. This is a record amount of money. It will create hundreds of thousands of jobs, tremendous economic development, and much additional wealth for the United States." Finally, addressing the murder in the 4th paragraph, here's what the president wrote. "It could very well be that the Crown Prince had knowledge of this tragic event. Maybe he did, and maybe he didn't." Joining me now is Bloomberg opinion editor and columnist Bobby Ghosh and NBC national political reporter Josh Lederman. I don't even know where to start, Bobby, but this follows the president saying previously how unfortunate it is that this story has caught the imagination of the world. He said he wouldn't listen to the audio recording pointing to Prince Mohammed's involvement because, quote, "it's a suffering tape, a terrible tape." But this statement seems to have struck an even more painful nerve with even his staunchest allies. What do you make of this?
Well, all we can say about the statement is that he wrote it himself. This is clearly not the work of an aide. It is so incoherent and almost a sort of Ulysses-style stream of consciousness that this could only have come from the president. So if you can say one good thing about it is that it is a direct distillation of his thoughts. The thoughts, as they are completely wrong-headed. They are wrong for all kinds of reasons. They're wrong for moral reasons. They're even wrong from the limited envelope that he places on it. His idea that this is a good thing to do, to give Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman sort of the cover of the American presidency because it's good for business, even that is factually wrong. It is not good for American business. It is not good for American foreign policy. It is not good for America's interest in trying to contain Iran. It is the opposite of all those things. This prince,
there was just a study on Monday, Bobby, by the Center for International Policy, suggesting that the new deals that went in place from the Trump administration with Saudi Arabia are a fraction of what he claims.
Oh, absolutely. It's a tiny. I mean, he has changed the numbers over and over again. He said he used to say it was 110 billion. Now it says 450. The number of jobs, he's gone up and down several times on that. But this is all moot. These are whatever the orders that have been placed by Saudi Arabia. They can't take those things back. The prince cannot just simply decide, as President Trump imagines. He can't just decide tomorrow, oh, I'm going to take these orders away from the Americans and give them to the Russians. That's not how it works. The entire Saudi defense infrastructure is based on American systems, American platforms. To say overnight that he's going to change it, that's like saying your entire home is wired for Macintosh, for Apple, and you're just going to buy a Dell computer and plug it into the system. It can't work like that. It would cost hundreds of billions of dollars and take a large number of years for the Saudis to be able to pull that off, if they even wanted to do that. Yeah. And they would wind up with inferior weapons. What country that can afford the best weapons wants to get inferior weapons? That's a complete red herring. The Saudis are not going to cancel the defense deal. They're not going to raise the price of oil because it hurts them more than it hurts us. The United States has all the leverage in this relationship. All. The Saudis have no leverage at all. And it's astonishing that a businessman president can't even understand that.
But a lot of members of Congress understand the relationship. They understand the numbers. They know what the truth is, Josh. Senator Lindsey Graham says he expects bipartisan sanctions against the Saudis. Rand Paul, who almost never breaks with Trump, said not supporting human rights allows extremism to flourish. Justin Amash was even more blunt. He said this is an utterly absurd, irresponsible, and repugnant statement. So will Congress do something about this?
I think they will. You're right. The criticism of the way that the president is handling this has been bipartisan, perhaps even more strident from the president's fellow Republicans than for Democrats. And the thing is, Chris, that Congress really does have some levers over the president here. They don't control foreign policy, but in addition to being able to block arms deals, such as the ones that the president is touting as so good for the economy, members of Congress can also require the president, through the Global Magnitsky Act and other pieces of legislation, to make a determination one way or the other about whether Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was complicit in this. And that's exactly what we're seeing now from the bipartisan leadership of Senate Foreign Relations, saying they're putting the president on a deadline to make a determination. Now, they can't force his hand to sanction Crown Prince MBS, and generally speaking, the U.S. doesn't sanction heads of state because it gets very complicated, but they can certainly put pressure on him to take a stand one way or the other and to make it clear that at least that branch of government is not going to let the president give the Saudis a pass for cutting up a journalist in a consulate.
The Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, talked yesterday about the relationship, how they're trying to frame their response in terms of protecting American financial interests. And then we saw just about an hour ago the president tweeting, thanking Saudi Arabia for lower oil prices. Ron Insana is still sitting here and he's shaking his head. Oil prices are lower. Great. The other side of this was a statement, not only the incredibly harsh statement, Josh, from the Washington Post, but the head of the Committee to Protect Journalists said, if you boil the White House statement down to its essence, President Trump has just asserted that if you do enough business with the U.S., you are free to murder journalists. Is that what has got so many people on the Republican side up in arms?
That's a big part of it. The one thing you have to say for the president is that when he acts in an explicitly political way, he doesn't really hide the ball. He's being pretty transparent here about the fact that this is about oil prices, and that we know that heading into the midterms and again into 2020, he's very concerned about the price of gas and the effect of that on his own politics, and he's being pretty open about that. But of course, as we know, Saudi Arabia doesn't set the price of oil. The price of gas and oil are set on a global commodities market. This is just one small part of it. And so for the president to link it that way is both somewhat political and also not totally factually accurate.
Not factually accurate. Imagine that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.